Hello, welcome to this week's Down But Not Out podcast, where we talk to Susan Hellman about what it's like to be a parent carer and also navigating a variety of things to get the most support available. So enjoy this episode. See you next week.
3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. John, just say hello for me.
Hello for me.
Yeah, very good. So, good evening. Welcome to another Down But Not Out podcast with Arthur Ellis. And we're here with the beautiful Mr. John Manning. Hello, sir. How are you?
Beautiful. I don't know.
Oh, come on. It's radio. They don't know. Till they watch the video podcast, they don't know. So, let's go with it. If you ever want to find out more details about John, Arthur Ellis is where you need to go.
Absolutely. ArthurEllisMHS.com.
Lovely. And that wraps it up for this week. More in the next couple of weeks here with the Down But Not Out podcast. Welcome to MKFM and the Down But Not Out podcast with Arthur Ellis, the online mental health charity. I'm Wes, going to be with you for the next hour, and we've got the lovely Mr. John Manning, as always.
Hello.
Wes. How are you today?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah. Oh, get in there. We've got another guest in, and let's just run over before we get into our wonderful guest that we've got. The whole purpose of the Down But Not Out podcast is talking about mental health and the work that Arthur Ellis does, but also about lots of other people that help within that solution.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, mental health is so multifaceted, and Arthur Ellis as a charity, we've got two aims. One is to provide our one-to-one service that we do, so people can refer into that. Organisations can work with us to open up those referrals to their communities, but also it's to spread awareness. So these conversations that we're having, not necessarily just raising awareness of issues, but hopefully providing practical solutions to people as well.
And that's what it's all about. Now, a wonderful guest joining us today. Hello, Susan.
Hello. Good morning.
Susan, introduce yourself to us.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm Susan Hellman, and I am an executive coach and speaker. But more importantly, for the purpose of today, I am a parent carer to my beautiful daughter, Zoe.
We were just talking off air, saying how many hats you wear.
Yes. It's two hats.
Yeah.
And we wear them both in symmetry. At the same time, it's a big job.
How long have you been caring? Obviously, I'm not as a person. I'm sure you're very, very caring as a person.
You seem very caring, Susan. I mean, that's part of the course, obviously.
Of course. But how long have you sort of cared for somebody?
Sorry.
Yes, so I care for my daughter, and my daughter is 41 this August.
Right.
So it's been a long journey. And when you, so to go right back to the beginning,
please,
when you give birth to a child and they have disabilities, you don't see yourself as a carer. You're just mum in those early years. And of course, as they transition through school, you are still in that mum zone. But when they get to an age where they're perhaps not taking their place in life, like a person who hasn't got disabilities or challenges, you then step into that carer role, because they need that extra support in order for them to live their life in the best way that they possibly can, and they need a support network behind them, and that's where I come in as mum carer.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like you say, the caring for a member of a daughter, every mum and parent wants to do that. At that point where it changes, how do you realise that? Is that something that comes from your daughter? Is that something that comes from someone's giving you advice and go, look, the way that does it need to change in certain ways, and is it a specific time that you know that you need to change in how that care's provided?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It changes by the involvement that you have in that person's life on a day-to-day basis. So it's been a gradual transition for me. As I mentioned, she went to school, special school, specialist college, and then she moved into supported living. Great years. COVID appeared, and she came.
What was like that? What was that?
Very,
like?
very difficult, John. You know what? It was awful. It was awful. And just to sort of go into the granular detail of that, Zoe was living in supported living, and somebody like Zoe with her presentation, they find it very hard to understand COVID, bubbles, what does all that mean? So you explain it to them in the best way possible. But you're going, so for example, I'm going to visit her in her supported living house where she had 24/7 living support, lived very happily with two other friends who she's still friends with to this day. Sees them every day at her day service.
Nice.
But you're sitting in a garden and there's a distance, and Zoe or any child that sees their mum, the first thing they want to do is to hug them.
Yeah, of course they do.
We couldn't do that. We couldn't even touch, and it was like Zoe. They had to remind Zoe to keep at a distance. Well, needless to say, that breaks your heart. I couldn't. I drive home just crying.
Yeah.
And it was a long time as well. It was years, wasn't it? That
it
kind
was,
of
but
went on
we
for.
didn't. It was years, but we just didn't let it get to that point. It was too painful. I think we survived probably 8 months of it. And it got too much for Zoe and also for myself, really. And it was like, well, look, we'll break this bubble. You come home, and then we'll take it a step at a time.
Yeah.
And then Zoe never went back into supported living, so she stayed at home. There were a few changes that went on in her supported living house with staffing, and Zoe needs consistency and familiarity, so that had an impact on Zoe, and she stayed at home. And that's, I suppose you could say, that's when I became full-time carer.
Right, yeah. So that's, because it's a different dynamic if they're in supported living.
So
which is great. And, so the staff are there to care for them. But, you then become part of that team again on a full-time, in a more full-time basis. Oh.
I should mention that as well. I am very fortunate because I do have a small team of PAs. We call them in this world PA, personal assistants, because it's just a nice word that has been created in health and social care world for someone like Zoe who has a bit of extra support.
How do you access PAs then?
So I've accessed the PAs through, I have what's called a direct payments budget.
Okay.
Through the local authority. So you contact the local authority, it was in my case, and say, look, Zoe's no longer living in supported living.
Right.
She's now living at home with us. I work. I want to continue to work because I need to work for my own self-care,
of course,
and I love working.
Must,
and but I will need for Zoe to thrive and to do everything that she needs to do and wants to do. I need support, and so can we relook at the budget, basically?
Oh, great.
So she did have a budget in supported living. So what I did was I created the budget and costed it out. I had a network, a good network around me of people who could actually help me cost it out, and in terms of what needs to go in there to present to the local authority. So costed it out based on just what Zoe needed, and of course they looked at it and they approved it. The Care Act is on the side of people like Zoe, so that helps. And if you work collegiately with the local authority.
Is that quite a tricky thing to? I mean, because you're saying it like I did this, I budgeted.
Yeah.
If I was in
really
a situation, I would
difficult.
never know where to start. I mean, is there support for people in that situation? Say, right, you can apply for this, but this is the things that you need, or is you like, nope, off you go, AI?
Do you know, you're right, Wes. It sounded so easy, and even you saying that, you're really off on the tongue, and as if it's just we all know how to do this.
Of course we do.
But but no,
tricky.
you learn on the job,
right?
And get through it at the time.
Yeah, pardon.
Just get through it bit by bit.
You just get through it at the time, and I'm still learning. I wish I knew now back then what I know now, but I have learnt on the job, and it's been really tough, and it's not easy. They don't just say, yes, you can have what you're asking for. There's always a battle, and there will always be a battle when you're caring for a loved one with disabilities, and you're working with the local authorities to get them what they need, because budgets are tight, right?
Of course, yeah.
Tighter than ever, yeah.
Tighter than ever, and
Yeah.
we need to sort of, it's a relationship that you need to develop with them.
Yeah.
And so Zoe's budget was approved, probably because it was less than what living in supported
Well,
living.
that is the thing,
was.
isn't it? Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
being at home is obviously going to cost them less, because I'm doing most of the,
Well, you said about it being a job and having those two hats, and it's kind of like, it's you've got your professional career, and then you have your at-home
Yes.
work as well that
Yes.
you've got to do.
And it's not just the caring, the practical caring for Zoe and the anticipating her needs. Going back to what we were talking about, when you have a direct payment budget, you are actually then advertising,
Wow.
recruiting, onboarding your PAs, making sure they've got the DBS, the right
So that's all
business
down
insurance.
to you as well.
Yeah.
Right,
That-
wow.
wow.
So I have the choice of having a managed budget, which
Right.
the local authority would look after on our behalf, or a direct payment where I do it all, and I do my own recruiting to get the right people for Zoe.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she sits with me and we interview together, because it's really important that she's
Yeah.
involved. And so all the onboarding is down to me, making sure they've got the right sort of DBS and the insurances before they can even start working with Zoe. And then of course I then do all the payments, pay my suppliers in line with the local authorities' requirements. So it's a lot.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
You've literally just described department, not individuals, departments that
Yeah,
have those
yeah.
roles within
Yes,
businesses.
yes.
And you are a multi-department in yourself, Susan.
So perhaps it's not two
While
hats, John.
still-
Perhaps it's multiple hats.
And
Yeah,
then
it is.
you're
It's
a
about
millinery
12 at the
shop.
moment,
There's a shop's worth of hats in there. Right, Susan, we're going to be coming back and find out more detail about your story. That's next here on the Down But Not Out podcast. So welcome back to the Down But Not Out podcast with Mr. John Manning and Susan, our guest today. And we're talking to Susan about the situation you're in, but also about your career and basically your lived experience of what you're going through.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey by the sounds of it, and I think we've mentioned about one of your jobs, or one of your hats, which is the parent carer hat. But what I'm interested in, you've really transformed this into such a positive for other people as well in your professional career. So I wanted to see if you wouldn't mind telling people a little bit about that.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So my professional career has been, started my career. I wasn't a coach. I haven't always been a coach. I started my professional career in banking. Then
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
I started my career in Barclays Bank.
Right.
And you know what? I can still remember the sort code. Branch. Is that sad?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And then I had a career in the civil service. So I was private secretary to the Director General of Civil Aviation,
Wow.
which was quite a big job. And when I think back, if it hadn't have been for my mum being my support network to helping me with Zoe, I wouldn't have been able to have got on the train every day and done that job.
Yeah.
So that was my early career, and then I had a career in recruitment, which I think has sort of leaned into my being able to onboard all these PAs and know what I'm doing in that respect. I say I know what I'm doing. I don't really know how to
do any of us really?
Yeah,
We're all
exactly.
giving it a go.
You
aren't
seem
we?
to be doing absolutely fine.
Yeah, you do.
And then higher education called, and I spent many years at a local higher education university, Bedfordshire, where I spent many years in exec development and higher education fundraising. They were great years, and they're good skills for transitioning into what I'm doing now. And I think, and during my time in higher education, I qualified as a coach.
Right.
as well. So that was a really positive time for me, actually, to step back and think, where do I want to go to, and where do I want my career to be for the next 10 years or so.
So when you say coaching, what sort of coaching exactly is it that you do? Is it life coaching? Is it specifics within some sectors?
So the journey started in mentoring, actually,
Okay.
and I still do quite a bit of mentoring outside of my day job, and I loved that. And then I qualified as a coach, so it was executive coaching.
Okay.
Supporting people with their careers and looking at where they want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. But when I left corporate, let's call it corporate, and I looked at my niche, where did I want to sort of take my career, and because I decided that I wanted to be a full-time coach.
Yep.
Where are my skills? Well, okay, executive coaching. I'm doing that already. But what about all these years of being a parent carer and supporting women who have or are balancing the demands of their careers and navigating all of that whilst raising a loved one with unique needs?
Yeah.
So there was a real calling there, I felt, call it that, I think it's fair to say a calling, to specialise and to support women. I say women loosely. I do coach men, but it's more on the exec coaching side. It's usually the women that are wearing these two hats, sadly enough.
Yeah.
It is a generalisation, but from my own experience, it is the women that are wearing a double hatters.
And when you are seeing these women, and what issues come through, what do people generally struggle with when they come to you?
It's overwhelm.
Right.
It's guilt.
I can imagine that from the first section of the show. It does. It sounds overwhelming, let alone going through it.
It is. It's completely overwhelming. And I'm still on this journey. You know, you never get there. It's just a day-to-day existence, really, of getting by and giving the best you possibly can for your loved one. So it's that managing the overwhelm, it's the guilt, and the anxiety that comes into play a great deal as well.
Yeah.
And that loss of identity, that loss of, look, you know, I'm putting all this effort into being mum, carer, because that's where I'm needed and that's what that's my job.
Yeah.
But actually, what about me? And you can't lose sight of the you, but you do for a bit. And when I was bringing Zoe up in those early years, I must admit I did something cool. If I had £1 every time I've said this, I'd be very wealthy. But I just got on with it. I smiled through the pain.
Yep.
I rocked up to work and I smiled.
Game face, isn't it?
Game face.
It's masking what you're really feeling.
Oh,
Isn't it?
and I did that for years. Now, in the worlds that I grew up in professionally, masking was probably essential because learning disability, anxiety, caring for a loved one, those sort of things don't exist in the civil service. And you know, it was you mask, you smile through the pain, but nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors when you get home.
There's an expectation to separate, or certainly there was an expectation to separate your professional life from your personal life. But now I think that people are realising that the one plays into the other, you know what I mean? We're interconnected by the simple fact that we're one human being, and those emotions can go either way. So,
and we do still lie about it a lot. So when you look at workplace mental health, I think about 95% of people who call in sick due to mental health lie about it. So they'll come up with, you know, I've got a cough, a cold, whatever it might be, poorly stomach, and it's not, well, maybe lying is the wrong word, but covering it up, and there's still that massive stigma attached to it.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Completely. You're absolutely right. And I remember back in the day, civil service days, if Zoe had an appointment, and there were lots of appointments, all the time there seemed to be an appointment to go somewhere because there was another assessment. It was ongoing. I would perhaps say that it was a dentist or it was something for me.
Right. Yes.
Really.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. But
Would you do that
Susan's
now?
got lovely
No,
teeth.
I would not. Isn't it funny, John? Would I do that now? It's such a great question. I was quick, wasn't I, to come back with, no, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. We live in a completely different world. There are still challenges out there, but there's a greater awareness now. And unless we carers, parent carers, are cheerleaders
Yeah.
for this stigma and to try and put a stop to it. If we can't do this, then the world at large is going to really struggle to know what's going on. So
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't do it because I feel a sense of obligation to myself to be very open, because I do believe that employers and many do. I was very lucky when I worked in higher education. They really got it. They had policies and procedures, a carers policy. They had all these things in place. But what a lot of employers haven't quite grasped yet is that it's cheaper to retain than it is to recruit.
Yeah, very much so.
And it's been them, the employer, being aware of what's going on with that employee before they do start phoning in and having to mask, or before overwhelm kicks in, and then they go off for 6-12 months at a time.
Yeah.
Well, it's that psychological safety is the term, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
making sure you've got a culture and environment where it's okay for people to be honest about these things and to be open about them. But obviously, I guess it's similar to the mental health awareness campaigns that we see. The infrastructure isn't there to back it up. So from an organisational perspective, you've got to be prepared to support if you're going to start offering it out.
I think it's really, I think it's really interesting that we're talking about, and you can talk about one employer being one way, one employer being a different way, because that's really. I've got a friend of mine who, funnily enough, I'm seeing tonight,
Nice.
and his youngest. Exactly the same as Zoe, you know, he's going through some stuff, and he's still quite young, and he's got a very good job in London in the corporate world that you said about, and his boss couldn't have been better. They've done fundraising, they've done all this sort of stuff,
Great.
and so
How nice
you
is
do
that?
exactly, and you know, and I think that some corporates really have got it, and some haven't got a clue, and I think this is the interesting thing, that it's better that some have, because previously, from what you're saying, 20 years ago, almost none had. So it's starting to change, but it's not necessarily the norm.
No.
But there are examples of the corporate world finally understanding and the value to themselves as a company, but also the humanity of it to try and be there for other people. So
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think a word of caution for the corporate world would be, let's make sure we're doing this for the right reasons, not to tick the boxes,
Yes.
that ED&I tick box to be able to show your stats at the end that you
People
are.
know, don't
Do
they?
it,
People know if the box is being ticked.
Yes, they
yeah.
do.
And we've mentioned a few things throughout the show that I'd really like to touch on, how we can support people to find solutions around this, because it sounds like there's all of this chaos surrounding these lives, loss of identity that you mentioned, and all of these different things.
Yes.
So as a coach and in your position, it'd be real great if you could help us figure out.
well, we're going to
what
come
people
back and get exactly that
Yeah.
from Susan.
Thank
That's
you.
on the way next. Okay, welcome back to the Down But Not Out podcast for the final section, and our lovely guest Susan. Thank you so much for sharing, because we get professionals in different walks of life within mental health, but this is obviously intensely personal to you because you are living this story. You know, it is a profession for you and has become, but also this is, talking about your daughter, and so this is something that's very close to you. So thank you very much for sharing with us today.
And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, Susan, because we've mentioned so many things that parent carers go through, from the getting access to funding and support, through to workplaces, through to day-to-day life. So I've got a really important question. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Do you know, it's lovely to be asked that. How am I? Yeah, you have to sort of take a step back and think about how am I, because every day is different. Well, as always, there's a lot going on in my head, as you can imagine. It's a very busy brain. And you mentioned Wes compartmentalising, and we get very good at that. But yeah, some days I'm completely exhausted and overwhelmed, particularly when there are so many different things going on for me, for Zoe, and in fact, last night I joked with her. I said, "You do realise Mum's your social secretary as well?" Because she has a calendar next to her bed, and I write everything on there so that she can see at a glance what's happening. Yeah. So there's another job there.
It is. No, but it is.
That's what made me say it last night. I was thinking, it's another job here.
Yeah.
But I've created that extra one because it makes her life easier. So thanks for asking, John. Yeah, some days are better than others.
Yeah.
I'm constantly vigilant.
Okay.
I'm on high alert a lot of the time. And in order for me to give her what she needs and to be the best mum carer I can be, I have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Because if I don't,
what
happens?
You're the support mechanism with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and if I'm not well, then there's I've had to really, in the last 6 years, work very hard at making sure that my mental health is intact.
Yeah. So how do people start to get on top of this stuff? Yeah. So we said about the loss of identity in some cases, the anxiety, the apprehension, I suppose, and all the appointments, the day-to-day logistics, I suppose. Yeah. So how do people start to feel on top of that? Are there stages that you can go through? Is it, because you said earlier on about kind of like just getting on with it, and that's a necessity, but how do we look to improve that situation for people?
It's messy.
Yeah,
it really is messy, and I think there isn't a framework to get on top of it overall. It is down to the individual to come up, from what I'm seeing, to manage their own mental health in these situations, because everyone's story is very different. And so it is about if you're working, talking to your employer to make sure that they are aware that you are very loyal to the business, and you want to continue to do a great job, but just to make them aware that you might need extra support with hours, for example. Your working hours, are condensed hours or part-time working available? So it's managing the work side of things. Then there's managing yourself. And it's not about going off to the spa and all these unrealistic things because you haven't got time. Well, yes, we make time, don't we? That was the official answer, wasn't it? We make time. But in reality, it's about the micro changes.
Right.
And for me, those micro changes are important on a daily basis, and that's what I've learned over the last 6 years. I make sure I have my daily walk every day.
Right.
And I wrap up if it's cold, and if it's raining, I still go out because I know that the benefit that gives me, it's absolutely crucial. And I do stop off and sometimes have a cup of coffee and just sit and stare.
Yeah.
I love sitting staring. That's
just
my
peaceful,
peace.
Calm.
Yes, I
serenity.
need that so much. I have a network around me. I'm very fortunate that I still have parents around, which are and have always been my network, but they're in their 80s.
Yeah.
So of course I can't rely on them in the way that I used to when, say, 20-30 years ago. But they are emotional support.
Okay, yeah.
They're emotional
so
support.
important as well.
Oh, I have a wonderful husband. He's incredibly supportive and gets it. He gets it. And friends as well. And I network a lot. And I speak to people. And so through my work, I build connections. And one of the things that I have found with the work that I do, what a lot of my clients, the theme that comes up time and time again is losing their purpose. So I've written a program that I use when I coach women, and it's now become a workshop that I deliver to corporates as well.
Wow.
Called Finding Your Purpose, Your Passion and Your Power. It's the 3 Ps.
Okay.
So, your purpose, who am I here to be? Outside of that carer role.
Because that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of the time, and it's not quite the same, but I know parents that are just dealing with kids, kids that are going through their normal childhood as to be expected, and they lose their purpose, and it's not as all encompassing. And I've had chats with dads, mums, all of those sort of things. And they said, I can't remember what I do. I can't remember what I love. I can't remember what drives me, passions and stuff like that. And you go,
what brings you joy?
But because they've moved their purpose to being a parent, and that's it. That's all I do. It doesn't matter about anything else. And you go,
that is the identity,
wow.
isn't it?
Yeah, that becomes your identity,
Yes.
which is,
Yes.
I suppose you've got to be really, really mindful of that.
Yes, you have. And that's where you can lose yourself.
Yeah.
And when that becomes your identity, whatever challenges you're experiencing within that role are doubled. They feel bigger than perhaps what they are, because you don't have anything to step back from, because you are in the centre of this world.
Is that a perspective thing? So you don't have, do you know what I mean? I'm not normalising something else outside of that, and you go, okay, well, I can step away, and this is. Do you know what I mean by that?
I suppose
does that
like
make sense?
if you have an interest,
Yeah.
no matter whether you're a parent, carer, or what, if you have an interest, it gives your life an added dimension,
Yes,
doesn't it?
dimension, that's a better word.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
So that is really important, and setting boundaries. And I find this bit really hard, but I'm working on it, because I know if I don't work on this, then the casualty is me, or Zoe, and that can't happen. So setting boundaries and saying no. Now, you don't need to be aggressive about this. It's saying no, it's not, I can't do it, not now, or and not always having to explain. Actually, as well.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain to anybody, but it's just setting your own boundaries.
And that understanding goes 2 ways, doesn't it? It's obviously the individual or yourself would need to set the boundary, but the person also needs to respect that boundary.
Yes.
And understand it and appreciate it and follow through with it.
And people, from my experience, genuinely do.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
They really do. There are degrees, but in the main, I think if you take the time, like you've just said, John, to explain, people do understand, particularly in this day and age, more so. And if they don't understand, then they will respect it anyway. I found.
Giving people the credit that they will understand. Do you know what I mean? Some of the time we go, I don't want to tell them, they will never. Well, give them the credit. You do. You would be understanding. So give them the credit that they would be at least try.
Give them a chance.
Yeah, give them a chance.
Yes.
Give them a chance to be the human that you want them to be.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
That's something I haven't always done as well. Given them the chance, I've assumed that they wouldn't understand my world. They won't get it. Why should I even bother? But just try, and if they don't, well, then that's fine too. Actually,
we've given it a go.
We've given it a go.
And looking at other perspectives can be really, really helpful. We've done some workshops and stuff in the past with men, like manly butch men, who work
guilty
for
as charged
civil engineering companies and dig dirt and love dirt, and they dig and they love dirt and they love a dirt and dig. So, and there was about 100 of them in the room, and I asked them all, why don't you talk about your mental health? And the majority of them said, because it would be a burden on somebody else. But the alternative perspective of that is, would somebody else talking about their mental health to you, would you consider them a burden? And majority of people said no. They would be happy to listen, be happy to help. And it's just a case of sometimes shifting that perspective, isn't it? And thinking through, right, what would I want? You know, if I was going to say no to this thing, how would I want it to be said to me?
Yes, that's a lovely analogy. Absolutely that.
Give them the chance. Do you know what? A few years ago, after COVID, I lost my job on like radio stuff, and I was a painter and decorator for about 9 months. I loved it. And working with some of those guys, I'd been sort of a labourer years ago with like summer jobs, and then 20 years down the line, they're different. The blokes we talk, there's lads, and they chat, but they also listen to you. They listen to each other now far more than ever used to. There's no stigma of it. There's no, oh, come on, man up. They might do it as a bit of banter, but they really listen, and they do care for one another a lot more. And if they're doing it, give anybody the credit and the opportunity to be that understanding human.
Yes. And after sort of discovering that, you know, actually, they wouldn't be a burden to me. Like those guys, it was phenomenal. They were just, it was a transformation of their whole point of view around the subject. And
it's about being the person that you want to see, isn't it, really? And just, I love that, John. It's a great analogy. And another thing I found is, don't expect everything to be perfect. And this is where I've struggled as well. Being somebody who likes things in their little boxes, I like a structure. In my messy world, that's where the conflict has come in, because it is messy, and yes, I can create structure in it to enable me to thrive. I have to understand as well, and this is still a work in progress, that good enough. If you just accept it, it's okay. It's good enough. If it's not, if the T's haven't been crossed and the I's haven't been dotted, it doesn't matter.
No.
You know, and that is my work in progress at the moment. It's good enough. Don't expect perfection.
No, that's great. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today, and sharing your experience. And I hope everything continues to be messy but under control.
Thank you.
How's that?
And hopefully this helps some other people as well. I think there's a lot of people out there who are, you know, either carers or who have friends that are carers that I'm sure would have got a lot from the information you shared. So,
and I'm always happy to help anybody if you want to pass my details.
Yeah, I was going to say, how would people get hold of you? Should they want to?
My email address is Susan at sjh-coaching.com.
Lovely.
Feel free to reach out to me on that email address, and I'd be thrilled to have a conversation.
Yeah, lovely.
Start off with a conversation, see where it goes. That's
how it starts. Susan, thank you very much. John, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wes.
That was the Down But Not Out podcast here on MKFM.